I want to thank the representatives from Assemblyman Perez's office and the City of Indio. As Kim said, we did invite everybody. We invited all of the county supervisors. We invited everybody from Riverside County Department of Animal Services and from the City of Indio. So just to get that out there. Really appreciate you being here. This is the whole point of this is for everybody to be able to talk about what's going on, because up to now it has not been, people have been, I think, afraid to really say anything, and they weren't really sure who they would say anything to, because the very people who are supposed to be protecting them are the ones who are not. I practice in the area of animal law, specifically animal shelter law and animal control law. Last June, the City Council of Indio made some major changes to the way they handled their animal issues. They decided to close their own shelter. And on June 16th, the City Council voted to adopt the Riverside County Animal Ordinances. It's 61 pages of laws. But they didn't tell you. I guess they forgot to mention it. I don't know. To this day, it's not on their website. Right there, the small print at the top in black is what's on their website about animals and dog licensing. It tells you that you can get your licenses from the County of Riverside right now. It doesn't tell you that you are now subject, or since last June have been subject to a number of requirements they didn't tell you about. They claim, apparently, that they sent out some information with some water bills. I believe that the information in the water bills simply said that Riverside County was going to be handling the licenses. That's not enough. That's not nearly enough information. That's not notice. You know, it's one thing to tell you that Riverside County is going to be handling licenses, but it's another thing entirely to tell you there's a whole new set of laws that apply to Indio residents. They didn't tell you. They left out the most important information, and that's why you're all here. They didn't mention that you'd be required to do several things that were not previously required for years. You know, as of last June, you're subject to all the laws of Riverside County, which also is mandatory spay neuter and mandatory microchipping. That's an important piece of information because they're now citing you for that. It would have been so easy for them to tell you. You know, I don't know why they didn't. The tactics they're employing right now for enforcement are just cruel and unnecessary. They really are. They're cruel and unnecessary not only to humans, but to animals. They don't need to impound more animals and kill more animals. That's not in anybody's interest. And they don't need to be trying to extract exorbitant fees from people. It does border on extortion. It does. You can't take somebody's animals or threaten to take somebody's animals or threaten to do things to them to get them to surrender animals or whatever it is, or even to try to get money from them. It is obviously about animals, but it's also about civil rights. This really is a civil rights issue, because the way these laws are being enforced violates the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees you the right not to be deprived of property without due process of the law. And a crucial element of due process is notice. You must be notified of what the laws are before you can be charged with violating them. They cannot subject you to a whole bunch of new laws, not tell you, and not inform you anywhere, and then say, oh, guess what, you violated it, you have to pay us money, or we're going to take your animals. We don't do that in America. It's a really simple it's a simple thing, and I don't know why they didn't do it. You know, there's rudimentary information on their websites. There's virtually, you know, there's almost nothing on Riverside County as well. In fact, one section of Riverside County Department of Animal Services website specifically says that Riverside County Department of Animal Services encourages people to spay and neuter. It doesn't say they require it, it says encourages. That's not a matter of semantics. Those are very, very different words. So which is it? Is it required or encouraged? That's a very contradictory statement to saying it's required and issuing citations for a lot of money for not having it done. I've seen several of these citations. One of them, or a couple that I've seen, have been posted at someone's house. One of them is issued, the ticket is issued to animal owner, which makes it pretty obvious that somebody wasn't home when they got this ticket. The officer wrote him an $819 ticket anyway. The property owner or animal owner was cited $100 for each dog for not having a license, not having proof of rabies, not having a microchip, and not spaying and neutering of 2 dogs. That raises a lot of questions. For example, how would that officer know that the dogs aren't licensed just by looking at them in the backyard? How does he know that? How would he know that those dogs don't have rabies vaccinations? How would he know they don't have microchips? I mean, does this guy have x-ray vision? I don't know. How could you tell that they were spayed or not? You can't tell that from looking if it's a girl. Boy, a little different question. But apparently that doesn't matter. They're just going to give you fines anyway. I talked to somebody earlier tonight who had citations, who does have spayed animals. She was cited anyway. This doesn't even begin to make sense. I'm also told that animal control is saying if you can't afford to pay the fines, you can go ahead and surrender your animals. Really? That's crazy. And it's not okay. It really makes me wonder what the real motivation is behind this. If this were really about what's best for animals and engaging the community in education and trying to lower animal populations, they would be working with the community. Because it's just as easy to canvass these neighborhoods. It's just as easy to go out and issue a warning or a notice along with information in English and in Spanish, but useful information on how you can procure these services. You can't use these sort of draconian measures to just railroad people into either giving money or animals. You just can't. Especially when you haven't even told them what the rules are. You can't change the rules and then say, okay, you violated them all. But I don't think this is motivated by animal welfare. I really don't. It's not. It's something else. I'm not sure what it is. I can guess. It's money, it's power, it's control, it's bullying, it's intimidation, and it's abuse of power flat out. I don't think it's coincidental that animal control is targeting low-income neighborhoods. I see this a lot in California. They're targeting people who are the least able to defend themselves or who they think will not. They will not go to the more affluent neighborhoods in large part because those people have gates and lawyers. They're giving 20 days to comply with these provisions. How? How are you supposed to comply with these provisions? How are you supposed to make an appointment to get an animal spayed or neutered, especially when you've got to shell out $1,600 plus that $19 administrative fee, or $2,000 or $1,200 to pay the fine, or run the risk of that fine doubling overnight because they're telling people we're coming back. And it's going to be a second offense at $200 a piece now, $200 per violation. So your $400 for one animal just went up to $800. And they expect people to be able to pay for spay and neutering and microchips? It doesn't make sense. The whole thing has to stop. This has to stop. It's not okay. And it's not okay to scare people and intimidate people and threaten to do things to people. I've lived in a country like this before. I mean, I lived overseas for years and I know what it's like to be more afraid of law enforcement than I am of anyone else. And I know what it's like to feel like that they can come to my house at any point in time with uniforms and deport me or worse, lock me up. So I know exactly what it's like to be terrified to come forward and say anything. And that's why we invited you here tonight, because we want you to know that this is a safe place to discuss this. It needs to be out on the table. It needs to be addressed openly and honestly without fear of reprisal. So with that, it's up to you.